It's cold, it's Saturday, it's Korea. Behind me is the main gate entrance for Changdeokgung, the secondary palace during the Joseon Dynasty. It was built as a backup to Gyeongbokgung in 1405 and largely went unused until a palace fire destroyed Gyeongbokgung in 1590. The royal family then moved their seat of power here and ruled Korea for 300 years here at this palace. Of the 5 palaces in Seoul, Changdeokgung is actually the most well preserved. The royal family actually stayed here up until 1988, the 20th century. Unlike the other palaces also in Korea and within the Seoul vicinity, you must have a guided tour on your travels here. Stepping into the main courtyard of the palace, you're instantly transported back into the 1300s, and you stand in awe of the amazing structures. Now it's hard to tell from behind me because of the angle of the sun, but unlike most buildings here in Korea, the roof tiles are of a dark blue-green color rather than the charcoalish tiles used most everywhere in palace structures. This was done as an experiment to show the significance of this building within the palace, but it was deemed too expensive, and as a result remains the only one with that color roofing here. We're here in the royal area where the king and queen lived. Now in the Joseon Dynasty, men and women did not live together, so the king had separate quarters from his queen. Creates an interesting dynamic as you want to pass on your lineage. Rooms here at the palace had 2 types of floors. The first type, wood, as you can see behind me. Unfortunately, it isn't able to be heated because, well, in Korea we have ondolls. Now ondolls are underfloor heating systems, and they're actually still used today. What you see is that the charcoal or wood was placed underneath the floor system and then used to heat a stone slab underneath the floor. The clay above the stone absorbed the direct heat, and then paper was used to line the walls to absorb humidity. Now the main purpose of coming out here to Changdeokgung is, of course, to relish in the secret garden. It is why that this tour is only available by guide and reflects the awesome history of Korea. The garden is located behind the main palace and was originally called the rear garden. It was a special place that only the king and those he specifically designated could come and visit. Behind me you see a pavilion, and over to this area is a little recreation area. The pond behind me is rectangular, reflecting the square symbolization of the earth. In the center is a circular island that represents the sky. It represents and symbolizes the perfect union of heaven and earth. Now also behind me is a large gate, flanked by a couple of smaller gates. It symbolizes the relationship between the king and his officials, the large gate being water and the smaller gates being fish. The king would pass through the large gate, and then the officials and his aides would pass through the two smaller gates. Behind the gate is the official library of the palace.